Without further ado, we welcome all the way from Italy, Pasquel Rucco and Douglas James.
This is such fun, and we've talked about this concert for quite some time because this is just the sort of situation really that the music that we play would have originally been done. We're playing for you tonight music all from the early 1800s, European music from the early 1800s, on guitars built in that exact time. So my guitar is French from around 1830. Pasquale's is also French, maybe 1810. And the strings we use, if you're familiar with classical guitars, usually they're nylon treble strings and then wound bass strings. Our treble strings are gut, as they would have been at that time. So gut was the common material for guitar strings like these until late 1940s, when nylon became more prevalent. And so we do everything we can to present the music on its own terms. And we'll be starting with a piece that is also French. This is the third movement, a Rondo, poco vivace, somewhat fast, by Antoine de Lhoyer. Lhoyer was a student of the more famous Spanish composer Fernando Sor. Sor was sort of chased around Europe by the Napoleonic Wars, and he ended up in Paris a couple of times, but the last couple of decades of his life he lived in Paris. And that's in fact when my guitar was made, and with the ornate decorations, could well have been the instrument of a female amateur, mother of pearl and all the fancy stuff on it. So just the sort of person that might have taken lessons with Sor. So Lhoyer, student of Sor, wrote many guitar duets and solos in chamber music. And this is the third movement from Opus 31, number 3, set of 3 guitar duos. This is also featured on our upcoming CD, our third CD, which will be released later this year. I think I can see. Can be a little bit ornery when it comes to tuning. As you may have heard of Doc Watson, he used to live up our way. We tune because we care. Okay.
Except yours.
I'm noticing it's a little further down than usual. We'd like to introduce the newest member of the family. This is the terzina. This guitar is a smaller instrument. You may have noticed these guitars, this is a fairly standard sized guitar for the early 1800s. Even so, it's smaller than your average modern guitar. The terzina is even smaller still because it's essentially tuned right here. So if I do this, that's the same as that one. And that interval is a third, thus the German word for third, Terz. So the Terz guitar was very, very popular, especially in the Germanic areas. And this instrument is probably Northern Italian or German. We don't really know because it has no label, but it's constructed in that style. And you notice that Leo Fender stole the idea for his instrument from these early 19th century style instruments. Turn it around too, if you would, so you can see it has a lovely etched brass plate. That, if I polished it, it would be really quite something. But it also, you'll notice the original equipment, rubber bands. It tends to rattle up there. So we string a rubber band up there, and one of them, you never know which one's going to rattle. So we just strung it on all of them. And hopefully that'll prevent any unwarranted percussion sounds of brass on brass. But in any case, the Terz was very popular in chamber music. And you'll notice immediately from the sound of it, it's a very bright, clear sound. And so in a mixed ensemble, it would project somewhat better than the darker, sort of nasal sound of our regular guitars. So there's an awful lot of Terz guitar and string quartet, Terz guitar and piano, Terz guitar with regular guitar like we're going to do. And Mauro Giuliani was the preeminent Italian guitarist of the day, and he wrote lots of music involving Terz guitar, and he played the Terz guitar himself quite a bit. But the first piece we're going to do with the Terz is arrangements of Rossini songs by Antoine de Lhoyer. De Lhoyer was an Italian composer, pianist, and music publisher who lived in Vienna. He was a very, very important publisher. If you can imagine, before electronics, the publishing business was as big as, say, the record industry used to be 30 years ago. So he was a preeminent publisher, made lots and lots of money that way. And he published in a serial form, like a magazine, a whole bunch of operatic songs arranged for regular guitar and Terz guitar. And I don't think anyone's found them in this century except me. I know where they are. And so I have a whole stack of this music, and we picked a few that are the most popular, recognizable tunes. Pasquale said, immediately, I want to play this one and this one. So he will tell you about the songs.
Yes, there is a reason for this. Many times ago, in 19th century, like today, the operistic music was and are the most important form of music, the most natural. So the several Italian composers of operistic music, sorry for my bad English, are Rossini, Bellini, Donizetti, Verdi, and many others. Tonight we will play for you two cavatinas from one of the most famous opera of every time, The Barber of Seville. I'm sure that every one of you knows The Barber of Seville, the history of Figaro, the history of the Conte d'Almaviva, and the history of Rosina. The history is always the same. He, her, and another one. Rossini is able to imagine.
If I may elaborate, the tenor desperately wants to make love with the soprano, but is prevented from doing so by the baritone. That is the classic Italian opera plot.
Anyway, the love is the meaning of the Italian opera. And this is an opera, is an opera, a comic opera, we say. How you say?
A comic opera?
Comic opera. And it's the history of the Conte d'Almaviva, the Count of Almaviva, that is a young and, of course, rich guy that fell in love with the beautiful Rosina. That is a young girl living in Sevilla. Conte d'Almaviva go to Sevilla to play and try to conquer the heart of Rosina. But Rosina is ready to be conquered. So he tried to he's under, we are in the morning, early in the morning, he's with some friends of him, some musicians, some guitarists. Rossini used the guitar into the Barbero Seville. He is under the balcony of Rosina, and he sung this aria that is a cavatina. In the Italian opera, the cavatina is the first aria that character song first time he appears on the stage. So he sung this cavatina. The title of this aria is Ecco ridente in cielo. He say, ecco ridente in cielo spunta la bella aurora, ma tu non sorgi ancora, ma come puoi dormir così? That in English means, the sunshine is arriving. I am singing my love for you, but you still sleep. How is it possible that you do not hear me? And he is sad. So the first theme is pretty sad, and is this. Suddenly, the Conte d'Almaviva seems to see Rosina on the balcony.